Hello everyone, welcome back to another Project Gladiator weather forecast. Today I'll be covering the weather for November 30th of 2023, and currently we do have a slight risk for southeastern Texas into southern Louisiana with a marginal threat that does extend up across eastern Texas into southern Oklahoma. Threats for this do include a tornado-driven slight risk with a 5% tornado threat, a 5% wind threat, and a 5% hail threat, but the primary threat for today is going to be that tornado threat with more of a marginal wind and hail threat, but we could see some damaging winds and a little bit of hail. This was a higher threat yesterday with an enhanced risk with a 10% tornado threat that was still tornado driven. However, that has since decreased because of uncertainty with the instability that we are expected to see for today. I will be breaking that down in today's forecast. And then for tomorrow, we do have a marginal threat for the deep southeast for Louisiana, southern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, and the Florida Panhandle. This does look very, very similar to a marginal threat that was issued last week, and threats for this do include a 2% tornado threat for that marginal threat area, as well as a 5% wind threat, and it does look like the fueling threat's going to be that 5% wind threat with a little bit of a tornado threat. However, both of these will be enough to trigger that marginal threat, but we don't really have all that much of a hail threat for today. And then we can also take a look at our day 3 outlook, where we could see a marginal threat for southern Alabama, southern Georgia, southern Mississippi, and the Florida Panhandle for the deep southeast again. And then we currently don't have any forecasted areas for day 4 to day 8 outlooks. Taking a look at our WPC outlook, starting off with our excessive rainfall forecast. For today, we do have a slight risk for that same slight risk area for severe thunderstorms, but this time it's flash flooding. Where we could see a slight risk for some flash flooding in that slight risk for severe thunderstorms region. And then for tomorrow, we do have a marginal threat for the marginal threat for severe thunderstorms region as well for the deep southeast for Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, parts of Georgia, and the Florida Panhandle. And then for our day 3 outlook, we do have a marginal threat for the northwest there for the coastal regions of Oregon into northern California, and then a marginal threat for the southeast. And then for day 4 outlook, we do have a marginal threat for the northwest again. And then for day 5 outlook, we do have another marginal threat for the northwest for Washington and northern Oregon. And then we can also take a look at our winter weather outlooks, where we are expected to see a ton of heavy snow for the Rocky Mountains, especially for the mountain chain that extends from Washington into Oregon. And then a little bit more isolated areas for heavy snow across the Rockies. So we are expected to see quite a bit of snow across the Rockies for today. And then we can also take a look at our future snowfall outlooks. For tomorrow, we are expected to see that snow really pick up and just go absolutely crazy across the Rocky Mountains, where we are expected to see a ton of heavy snow for the Northwest, for Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, and down into Colorado. And then for day 3 outlook, we are expected to continue to see heavy snow for Wyoming, Idaho, Washington, Oregon, Montana, Colorado, Utah, and Nevada, as well as a little bit of an area for Maine there. And then we are expected to continue to see heavy snow in the Rocky Mountains in that same region, up around till our day 7 outlook, which is as far as we can go. And then for our day 4 to day 5 outlooks, we are expected to see quite a bit of snow for the New England corridor as well as Michigan. And then we can also take a look at our surface analysis here. As of right now, we do have a cold front that is currently developing across western Texas, and as that swings eastward over the next couple of hours, and as that moves into eastern Texas, that is going to be triggering our severe thunderstorms for today, which is going to be supported by that low pressure trough that is in that region. And there will be more information on that in our 500 millibars. Speaking of which, taking a look at our 500 millibars, you can see that we do have that low pressure trough there with an embedded shortwave with an area of stronger mid-level flow compared to the surrounding areas, possibly getting up to 100 miles per hour. And you can see the amount of varying of the winds that we have with this shortwave trough. With a mid-level defluence, we aren't supposed to look at defluence on our 500 millibars, but it does give us an idea for our varying the winds and our directional shear. And if we follow our isobars, you can see near the low pressure system, compared to where the exit region is in the south. Um, we have very prominent veering of the winds and a ton of direction change in direction in that trough. So we are expected to see a ton of directional shear, and directional shear is going to be very impressive for today. And I will show you our directional shear values, um, which is just absolutely impressive. So this trough is going to be what's supporting this threat for severe thunderstorms for today, while that cold front that is currently developing across western Texas, as that moves into eastern Texas, that should be triggering our severe thunderstorms in the next couple of hours. Taking a look at our composite reflectivity, I'm going to be going over the when and where you should be able to see our severe thunderstorms for today. As of right now, we do have some ongoing rain showers, and we did see some morning rain showers earlier today. And then we are expected to see the bulk of that clear out into Louisiana in the next couple of hours, with some of the severe thunderstorms left in the Houston region around 7 to 8 p.m. And those are going to be the primary severe thunderstorms that we are expected to be focusing on for our severe thunderstorm threat for today and our tornado threat. And those are expected to move into Louisiana around 9 to 10 p.m. So remove an hour off of that, and that will give you the central time. So that would be anywhere from 10 or 9 to 10 p.m. in central time. And then as those move into Louisiana, those are expected to develop into a line in the very early morning through Louisiana into southern Mississippi, and then progress into the deep southeast, um, kind of dragging back behind into the Gulf of Mexico along the coast of Texas. There is going to be dragging a little bit, but it should progress into the deep southeast around the early morning of tomorrow. And then we can also take a look at what we are expected to see as far as the snowfall in the Rocky Mountains. Um, we are expected to see some ongoing snow showers. At least that's what I think it is. We can switch to our winter weather radar real quick. There is a little bit of snowfall mixed in with that, but it is mostly rain. And then we are expected to see a wave of rain showers out of the Pacific Ocean impact the Washington and Oregon coast. Um, Around what seems to be the early morning of tomorrow. So expect some snow for some of those more mountainous regions, as well as quite a bit of rainfall for the coastal regions of Washington and Oregon in the early morning of tomorrow. And then as that cold front that is going to be triggering severe thunderstorms for today as that spreads out across the Mississippi River Valley. That should be leading to quite a bit of rain across the eastern half of the United States, anywhere from the deep southeast into the Ohio River Valley in tomorrow. And this is where we're going to be getting into the deep nitty gritty of things. I'm going to be covering the dew points and instability, and overall just going extremely in depth on what we are expected to see in the atmosphere to support these severe thunderstorms. For today, we are expected to see quite a bit of moisture being pulled out of the Gulf of Mexico because of that trough, and because of the proximity to the Gulf of Mexico and the direction of the winds. We should see constant replenishment of moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico, continuously fueling these severe thunderstorms. If moisture is used up, it is likely going to be replenished as it is being pulled out of the Gulf of Mexico. And we are expected to see some fairly good moisture in the atmosphere too, as well. But dew points are going to be ranging anywhere from the mid 50s or mid 60s up to the upper 60s. Taking a look at our temperatures for this region, you can see that our temperatures are expected to be fairly similar to our dew point values, so we may be able to see a little bit of a boost in instability because of that. However, I'm not really too sure about that. Um, and temperatures are expected to be ranging anywhere from the mid 60s up to the mainly staying around the mid 60s. They probably aren't going to get too high, but they could possibly get close to the upper 60s, but are probably going to stay around the mid to upper 60s. So again, with the close proximity of our temperature and dew point values, we may be able to see a little bit of an instability boost from that. But overall, I'm not really too sure about that. And then let's take a look at a little bit more of our widespread temperatures. We are expected to see a line of very cold very cold temperatures, with the west seeing much more frigid, to the west of that line seeing much more frigid temperatures. As that cold front as that line progresses eastward, we are expected to see temperatures that are going to be getting below freezing tonight for a very large portion of the U.S. Actually, anywhere west of a line that extends from the northern Texas Panhandle into southern Wisconsin, which includes Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, the other part of the northern part of Michigan, Iowa, Montana, Colorado, and Wyoming, Utah, Nevada, Oregon, Idaho, Washington, and some parts of California, Arizona, and New Mexico. So we are expected to see a very, very large portion of the United States, possibly seeing some very frigid temperatures tonight. Taking a look at our instability, you can see that we do have some fairly good instability for our dew point and temperature values. We are expected to see some fairly moderate instability, but it is going to be enough to fuel a threat for severe thunderstorms for today. With Cape values are going to be ranging anywhere from the mid 1000s up to at least 2000, which is moderate, but it will be enough to fuel the threat for severe thunderstorms and the threat for a few tornadoes across this region. And again, notice as I was saying earlier with our dew point values, we are expected to see constant replenishment out of the Gulf of Mexico as that trough continuously pulls moisture and instability out of the Gulf of Mexico to constantly replenish any instability that is lost in this region and fuel those severe thunderstorms for a while into the deep southeast. So, overall, our Cape values are again going to be fairly uncertain. There is some uncertainty with our instability, as we did have some morning showers beforehand, which likely affected our instability by making our atmosphere a little bit more stable. So these Cape values may not be really indicative in of what we're actually seeing in the atmosphere as of right now. So these dew point or these Cape values may be a little bit lower than what the models are forecasting, but overall we still are expected to see the threat of a few tornadoes across this region. Taking a look at our energy helicity index values, this is what really blew it away as far as the fact that we were probably going to see a decreased tornado threat for today and not a 10% tornado threat. These energy helicity index values, again, are not going to be indicative of a 10% tornado threat whatsoever and are going to be indicative of that 5% tornado threat. Overall, they're not too impressive, but we are expected to see energy helicity index values that are going to be getting as high as 2.5 to 2.4. Again, not really impressive compared to a 10% tornado threat or what we would expect to see for a 10% tornado threat. So again, we are seeing that decreased tornado threat, and we are expected to see a few tornadoes for this region, or the threat for a few tornadoes across this region. However, even though the tornado threat was decreased, it is still important to note that we still could see the threat for tornadoes across this region, and again, a 5% tornado threat at that. So even if it's not a 10% tornado threat, we still are expected to see the possibility of a few tornadoes across this region. And with Houston being smack dab in the middle of that slight risk region, that is a little bit of a concern. So you guys should still be staying weather alert and watching out for any tornado warnings across this region, as tornadoes could still be possible. Taking a look at our total snowfall models, by the early morning of tomorrow, we are expected to see quite a bit of snow across the Rocky Mountains. We aren't expected to see a crazy amount of snow like we are expected to see for that mountain chain that does extend through Washington and Oregon. We are expected to see possibly up to 7 to 15 inches of snowfall in some of the regions across that mountain chain. If anyone knows the name of this mountain chain, please tell me so I actually have the name of what to call it. And then across the rest of the Rocky Mountains, we are expected to see probably an average of snowfall anywhere from less than an inch up to 3 inches across the vast majority of the Rocky Mountains. And then we may also be able to see some snowfall by the early morning, extending through the northern Texas Panhandle into Miami, or sorry, Missouri, through Kansas, the Oklahoma Panhandle, and the Texas Panhandle. where we could see possibly up to 2 inches of snow for a very small portion, but overall we should see anywhere from 1 inch to less than an inch across Kansas by tomorrow. Now that I've showed you the weather, please go down to the description and check out the socials for Project Gladiator. Join the Discord for any updates on Project Gladiator. If you live in any of the areas I covered for today, please stay weather alert for the time being. If you have any suggestions or you would like to ask a question, or you notice anything might have been wrong with this forecast, please leave a comment. Two other channels that I highly suggest you check out are Weather Watcher and One Nation Weather. The links to their channels will be in the description. And something that I do suggest you do is go to the description and check out One Nation Weather's channel. He is extremely close to 1,000 subscribers, and I would really like to get him there by the end of this month. So if you guys could go to the description and subscribe to him, it would make his day, and hopefully I'll be able to see you guys tomorrow with another forecast.